All right, so now what we're gonna do is some line experimentation using the seashells for observation. To start, what I want you to do is just choose a shell and make some detailed analysis. You're gonna just observe what you see, what makes up the shell, what kind of lines do you see? You know, are they thick lines or thin lines? Are they jagged or curved? Are they solid lines? Are they broken lines? And as you're looking at this and as you're recognizing these different lines, maybe you even use your vocabulary sheet. Go back to that vocabulary sheet that I gave you guys and look at all the different line types, the way we describe lines, and see how many of those lines you can pick out with your shell observations, okay? And then be thinking about how would you recreate those lines? How would you make that detail with a pencil? Would you use the tip of the pencil or the side of the pencil? Right? Because if you use the tip, you're going to get a much thinner line. But if you use the side, you might get a much thicker line. All depends on that pencil grip too. How are you holding the pencil? Depending on how you hold it, the amount of pressure and the speed and the direction of the line, all that's going to change. So make your observations first. Think about how you might use your pencil. And then what you're going to do is, I don't want you drawing the whole shell. I just want you to kind of draw parts of the shell, drawing the detail you see, breaking it down to smaller parts. So maybe you recognize some of the patterns, this fan pattern, or maybe you're kind of recognizing some of the worn edges in here, what almost looks like cracks, right? It almost looks like cracks and the lines are kind of appearing dark and thick, but then they kind of disappear and fade out, and then they come back again. So that's what I have over here, kind of these worn edges going on. Maybe you're recognizing some of these jagged lines, this V shape here, right? How are you going to draw that? Are you going to use the tip of the pencil to make that V shape? Well, I use the side of my pencil, and that's what you see right here, yeah? So it all depends on just what you observe. If you see it, you can draw it. That's the art to drawing. There's no trick to it, it's just slowing down and taking your time to observe and think about the relationships of the different marks we see and how we can recreate that. And the way we discover and figure out what works is by experimenting. So you're gonna be doing one full page of experimentations, and I want you to annotate, label what you are doing. So you can see I've already labeled line experimentation, shell observations. I began with a 4H pencil, much lighter in my mark making, recognizing some of the fan patterns, and then I moved on to the 2B pencil, much bolder, softer lead, worn edges, kind of like I was saying, that's this area that's kind of worn down, almost looks like barnacles or kind of a rocky cliff. So annotate your experiments as you go along, all right? Be really aware of the way your pencil is wearing down. The H pencils are much harder, or they're not gonna wear down as fast as the B pencils. Sometimes you want that to kind of wear down as depending on what kind of line you're making. But if you're trying to make a real thin line, you want to keep that clean, you're gonna have to really use be sure you're sharpening your pencil as you move along, okay? So one full page of experimentations, be sure you're annotating. As you do this, don't feel like there's nothing else to see in your shell. Depending on how I'm holding it, what angle I'm observing the shell from, those lines and those marks are going to change. So really explore from several perspectives. Maybe you're looking at one perspective just straight down, right? Maybe 2 is one side. Maybe 3 is another side. Maybe 4 is straight on. Maybe 5 is the back. Maybe 6 is the bottom, inside. Maybe you're observing the interior of the shell, or maybe you're observing just the bottom of the shell. Look, just right here, I see 1 pattern, 2 patterns, 3 patterns, 4 patterns, 5 patterns, 6 patterns. There's so much information if you just slow down and really look at it. So really be thorough in your observations before you choose another shell, all right? I want you kind of really focusing on one shell and take your time with it. You might feel like you're getting bored of it, but if you're focused and really thinking about what you're looking at, the boredom won't come very quick, all right? There's a lot of information there. You just got to slow down to discover it. The art to drawing is the art of seeing. So get to it, guys. Enjoy.